showing your back there twice, where, you know, again, right here, we can see that parrying that he did. And again, he's really open, left really vulnerable here. Again, if especially in a knife fight, you don't want to do that. You know, you always want to be facing your opponent. Again, I don't know knifing techniques. I never did that, but I'm just talking logically here. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense for an opponent to do that. So I thought that was really strange. All right, so in today's video, we're going to be doing a full breakdown analysis of the new Resident Evil 4 trailer that just released. And right before we get started, I also want to mention that ignore my hair. It don't look right. I definitely need to get a haircut. But in any case, let's get started. All right, so for this first shot, now we do have a couple of shots, and it looks like Leon is actually walking through this. He's walking. Now, if we actually move my face right now, we can actually see that there is a small kind of altar. Now, what this room actually reminds me, if we're comparing this with the OG RE4, is if you guys remember in that, you know, as soon as you go to the mines, which is still part of the castle area, the room is specifically where you encounter two Dr. Salvadors. So this is what this looks like, especially since there's an altar right there. You know, it does look like a ruin underneath a castle. You know, it looks like old structures. Very kind of similar also to Code Veronica as well. That kind of area in the Rockford Island. So if anything, yeah, I think that this is probably the mining section, this initial shot. Anyways, I'm just going to go back real quick. All right, now this next shot, again, it does look like we're underground still, but what's interesting, and this is something that I specifically mentioned in the live stream where I watched the state of play, is that this right here, very gory, but it does look like an altar, but it does also kind of give me vibes of like Temple of Doom. You know, this whole area right here, very occultic for sure. So you can tell that somebody did take a lot of inspiration from the, you know, Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones. So yeah, very interesting, this whole area. Now these kind of cranes with the Los Iluminados symbol, we actually saw this in the first trailer. We saw different areas like this. I'm assuming that this is the castle, a very specific area of the castle. Now there's nothing in the OG RE4 that I can think of that kind of reminds me of where this could take place. If anything, it just looks like it's part of a ruin. You know, it could be that kind of spot right before you fight the big cheese. If you guys remember, underneath like the monorail, there was like a little subsection where Ada actually wakes up, and if you're playing the separate ways kind of part of Resident Evil 4. So it could be that area, but you know, just because of the stone and stuff. But as mentioned in the trailer, we did see a lot of these kind of cranes with Los Iluminados symbols like right here. So I'm assuming that it could be the castle again, or a different room entirely, since this is a remake. But in any case, let's move on. All right, so for the next shot, now this is very interesting because we see a bunch of spikes with skulls. So you can tell right away that this is a trap area in the castle. Now, specifically, if we remember, there was a specific place like this in the OG RE4. This is actually the area right before you fight the Verdugo, aka the Executioner. That's what it means in Spanish, by the way, if you guys didn't know that. But yeah, so it definitely looks like that. If anything, if you guys remember correctly, you know, this is the area where Leon kind of falls down after Salazar does the trap, and Leon kind of throws a hook so that he doesn't obviously fall on the spikes. And then you actually encounter the merchant, and then that's when the Verdugo fight begins. So yeah, very interesting. I really like that fight, the Verdugo fight, one of the coolest enemies in Resident Evil 4. So anyways, let's continue. All right, so this next shot right here. Now, as I looked at this live on the State of Play stream, this is where the shot begins. So what's interesting here is that it doesn't look like, now it's very dark here, but what it looked like to me is that this kind of tendril, or this kind of spider plaga parasite that comes out of the enemies. Now in the OG game, when that happened, it would usually come out of the Ganado's face. So it would actually just explode the face, or the mouth would open and that little spider thing would show up. Now, what's interesting in the OG game is that spider thing would actually jump out of the head and actually start crawling around. You would have to shoot it. It would only take like one shot to down it. But what's interesting here is that doesn't look like that's happening, because specifically it almost looks... Now, again, this is just speculation because this is not confirmed, but what it looks like is that maybe there was a different enemy, or there was a different plaga that was running around, and it decides to take control of a ganado. So a ganado that doesn't have the las plagas exposed like that. It almost seems like this spider thing was just going around, or the parasite spider, whatever you want to call it, las plagas, was going around, and then it just took hold of a ganado and then went straight for Leon. And that's what we see in the trailer. So I don't think that the spider thing is coming out from this ganado. Now, again, you could argue also here that, okay, maybe the thing is coming out of its back, but I don't think so. I don't think it's coming from his back. I think it actually leaped on top of him, and it's actually taking control and then using him as a puppet to attack Leon, as we see in the next shots. Now, the area where this takes place, I'm assuming, is the castle. Now, this long dark hallway, we of course can see the ganado here. This looks like a ganado that has the priest uniform. So those are the only time we encounter those types of ganados is in the castle. And of course, but what leads me to believe that this is the castle area is if we look to the left here, this kind of hallway right here, it kind of reminds me of the OGRA4 when you're kind of going through like those crows. If you remember, there was like a section, there was two sections, but they were right next to each other, where you go through a long hallway where you can kind of see the exterior of the castle. And in the next area, there's like a little fountain. And in both areas, you can shoot crows. So this kind of reminds me of that area. Now, the other thing that's also worth noting that I find very interesting, and this is kind of weird, but if we look closely, we can actually see that Leon is wearing body armor. He also has kind of like an elbow pad here. Now, what's interesting about this is that in the OG RE4, you don't get access to this body armor until you reach the island section. Now, as mentioned, this definitely looks like the castle section of the game, which is kind of like the middle section of the game. Since if we split RE4 into three sections, you have the village, the castle, and the island. Now, in the OG RE4, you don't get access to the body armor until you reach the island. So what's interesting here is this a second playthrough? Is this footage of a second playthrough, and this person just has the body armor already equipped? Maybe the person that was playing, whoever provided this footage, was playing, this was already a second playthrough. Regardless, it's very interesting. I don't think you can probably get access to this outfit because, again, the reason that the game gives you this option of buying and purchasing armor with knee pads and elbow pads is because the island ganados are a lot stronger. So as you progress through the game, the first village ganados are tough, but as you go to the castle, they get tougher. They start wearing helmets. That's when you can do, suplexes. And then the next iteration of the ganados is when you go to the island where they have like stun rods, they have, guns and stuff. So, or crossbows. So, yeah, that's very interesting. Very weird that we have Leon so early in the game in the castle section have this kind of armor already, or body armor. So, yeah, as here, the second shot, we can actually see closer up here. He's not just wearing a shirt, because we've already seen Leon, wearing a shirt and stuff. And as mentioned here, you can see the elbow and the elbow pad, and then right here we can see part of that armor on the left side. So, yeah. Very interesting. Anyways, let's continue. The other thing that I also didn't mention is that I think it's also it's very cool to see how, as mentioned, if my theory is true, again, this is all speculation, just judging by, the knowledge that I have from previous Resident Evil games, and specifically Resident Evil 4, the OG RE4. But that would be really interesting if, like as mentioned, if that Las Plagas jumps on the guy. But what I was going to say is that if that's the case, that's really freaky, that you'll just see a spider and then it'll just hop on a ganado and it'll just start chasing Leon. Like, that Las Plagas definitely wants to kill Leon. If that's the case, that would be really cool. That's a different addition. Again, something that we've never seen in the OG RE4, but seeing it here, I hopefully that's the case, because if we watch the trailer, that guy's just he gets grabbed from the back, or what it seems like. Again, this is speculation, and then he just bolts directly to Leon. So seeing the speed of the ganados, with the latest hardware, with PS5, Xbox Series X, with the latest PC has to offer. So it's really cool. I'm really excited about this. Anyways, let's move on. All right. So for this section, this is very interesting because we seem to have a lot of scenes here. Now, if we zoom in, it looks like that's Leon and he's grabbing Ashley. and they were just doing a ritual here. Now we have Sadler. Now what's interesting about this area or this part of the ruins, this seems like it's the castle area. The reason I say that is because obviously Leon doesn't have his jacket, so we know that this is after the village. But also, if we look, Ashley doesn't have her jacket either. Now, this is very interesting because, again, the trailer shows a lot of shots where we can actually see Sadler here. And by the way, Sadler's new look is really, really interesting. I really thought that was interesting that they had kind of like behind him, you can kind of see that there's like a scalp of what looks to be Las Plagas, like behind his hair, or what would be his hair, right? But he's bald, obviously. But it almost gives another reason as to why he wears a hood. So whoever did the character design, the art director, I'm assuming, did a phenomenal job with that. But as mentioned, so what I was getting at here is that if we looked at the Game Informer Chapter 5 video, we actually know that Leon doesn't encounter Sadler in the castle area. Now that's very interesting because, as mentioned, in the OG RE4, that's actually the first encounter that Leon has. That's the first chance that he has to actually speak with Lord Sadler. So the fact that this is not happening in the remake, just like how it is in the OG RE4, is interesting. So it leads me to believe, is this the first encounter where Leon actually speaks with Sadler? Is this his first encounter with him? Because since Ashley here is not wearing her jacket, if we do remember correctly, in the Resident Evil 4 remake the first trailer, we did see Ashley kind of have like veiny eyes or whatnot, and she had a gun and it was almost pointing at Leon. I'm assuming this could be that area. But we also have a scene like that in this trailer later on where Ashley's actually holding a knife, and looks like she's about to attack Leon. And she actually starts talking, which we're going to go over that. So you know what? Let's continue. Maybe we'll see that next. Yeah, here. So here we have a closer shot of Sadler here with his scalp. And what's interesting here is that they're obviously really close to each other, but they're not attacking each other because obviously Sadler has some control over Leon. So we do know that this has to take place after the village, because we do know that after Leon's fight with Del Lago, that's where he passes out and stuff. That's when, the infection kind of just starts, obviously. So yeah, so this is definitely has to be later on because the I was going to say virus, but no, the parasite has obviously, it's taken time. So it's gone through his system a lot more, because obviously we can see here, it looks like Leon is resisting. We can kind of look up close. I'm going to move my face here. Give me 1 second. Yeah, we can kind of see right here, Leon's face is definitely infected. So he's definitely in control. We can also see Sadler here. If we zoom in, his eyes are glowing. I wonder if that's an indication of him holding, assuming control, And as mentioned before, if we look at his hairline, really intricate design of the character by adding that parasitic kind of look to Sadler. Not giving him hair, but giving him that kind of scalp parasitic look. Really nice. The attention to detail with the clothing. Oh my gosh, look at this. This looks beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah, the art director did a phenomenal job with Sadler's cloak. But yeah, very occultic, very, very beautiful. But anyways, yeah, so yeah, very interesting here. So let's move on to the next scene. It does seem like Sadler's just taking the time to speak with Leon, but he's not going to attack him. Now, as mentioned before, we do see that this is very stony area, so I would assume that this is still the castle because it does look like that. But we see Ashley here, and this does look underground. So as mentioned, is this all happening at the same time? No, I can't really see if Ashley's wearing a different, if she's taken off her jacket, her red jacket. I think so, because here we just see that it's orange here. So I think she's just wearing her shirt with the scarf. But she starts saying something really weird, right? She starts saying very occultic stuff. So it begs the question, because we've never seen the parasite act like this before, but it almost seems as if Sadler is actually speaking through Ashley as she's getting infected and about to attack Leon. If we are to assume that this is all happening, this is all the same scene, you know what I mean? So what that's actually really cool to see, mostly because we do know, I think, that the parasite, that they do kind of have a hive mentality. I'm assuming that that's probably what's happening here. We have all of the characters, obviously all of the ganados, they all are they're puppets, right? So it would kind of entail, you would ascertain from that there is kind of a hive mind where, you can actually tell a Ganado to go do something for you, and he will do it like a zombie, right? But of course, this is a parasite. So yeah, very interesting, and very creepy that she starts talking and saying occultic stuff. So yeah. Anyways, next shot. Now this shot is very interesting because if we zoom in, we know exactly where this is. This looks like the elevator. This looks like the elevator. Yeah, if we look here, we can see a bunch of turning wheels and stuff. Yeah, this definitely looks like the elevator when right before you have the final boss fight with Salazar. So right at the top of the castle, right after you've climbed the elevator, you go to the tippy top, you actually fight Salazar, and then after you go to the island. So it seems like they're keeping that aspect. It does look like that. If we go to the next shot, we do see enemies boarding this. And then the next shot again, this looks like it's the same scene. So again, it does look like it's the elevator. But what's interesting here, what's interesting about these ganados is that first off, they have tattoos. Very occultic. He has the tattoo, what looks to be one of the Las Plagas. But if we look to the right, I wonder if this guy has any writing close to him. Now, this is the max that I can go, but like this is the max zoom. But it does look like they have probably some sort of occultic scriptures written on him. I think that those are words. Does that look like no there? Yeah, it's probably in Spanish. I mean, it would make sense that it's in Spanish, but I can't see. Maybe in the next shot we'll be able to see. It's a little less blurry, but very interesting. Yeah, I really like that aspect. And these are obviously different types of ganados, so they're not like the other types, because we never saw the ganados that had, castle ganados that had tattoos. We never saw that. So it's a really great addition. I really like it. Really enjoying that. Let's see if we can actually zoom in here and actually see any writing or anything, if we can decipher anything. No, it looks like cursive writing or something, or maybe it's not even writing. It's just, yeah, but that does look like a K, an N, an O, and a W there. But again, that would be in English. That doesn't make sense. This is a Spanish cult. So yeah, very interesting. I'm very curious to see like the character models after you play the game, and I kind of want to zoom in to see if those are actually saying things. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Really curious. But yeah, very cool that he's fighting. As mentioned before, we can also see the stairs right behind this guy's head. We can see the stairs up, and it's going kind of in a circle, so we know for sure that this is the elevator. Here, yeah, we see a clear this is actually, it's funny because when Leon does the parry, there's kind of like a spark that occurs because he's parrying with his knife against this axe right here of this ganado. So, but yeah, right here we can tell right away that this is all the same scene. This is Leon going up the elevator and then after fighting Salazar. So yeah, very interesting. All right, so for the next shot, this is actually very interesting. So I'm assuming that this is, again, part of the castle area, probably the beginning parts of the castle. If you remember, there were several areas like that. I'm just judging this by by the architecture here. If we look to the left, it looks very castle-esque. Behind we see some wooden structures. It definitely would allude that to that being the case. What's interesting here is that we actually see body armor being placed. Now that's interesting. We don't see a body armor kind of subsection, right? Kind of like the knife here. If you can kind of see here, there's a knife, and underneath there's a bar. So we don't have that with the armor. So again, is this a second playthrough? Is this because again we do see that Leon is wearing that armor? So yeah, again, is that going to be available to us earlier on? Because it's just going to get tougher and tougher. So they're going to just make that available, and not like the OG, or is this the guy that captured this footage is like second playthrough, and he already bought the armor, so he just kept it, and so that's how it would be in the OG RE4. But again, this is a remake. Now, what's interesting here is that we actually see a Ganao with the parasite kind of split apart. What's interesting is that if we look at the following shots. Now, there's a couple things to note before I get there. So we'll get back to what I just said. But here we actually see that there's an opportunity to dodge. So we do know that the dodge button is R3. I'm assuming that that's also the duck button, because we do know that there is some sort of sneaking, right? There is some sort of level of sneak in this game. Now, Resident Evil has not been the best at sneaking, right? Or adding kind of sneaky mechanics. You know what I mean? Like it's not that type of a game. It's not like Metal Gear Solid. Revelations added that. Resident Evil Village kind of added that crouch mechanic. Resident Evil 2 Remake is the last one where I thought that there was that kind of stealth kind of mechanic with if you play as Sherry, when you're hiding from irons. So yeah, it again, Resident Evil isn't known for that. So I wonder if it's the same button to crouch and also to dodge. Is that going to be like an issue, or is that going to be intuitive? Anyways, yeah. Next, this is the shot that I wanted to mention. If you look right here, now this has. I'm pretty sure that in the OG RE4, this didn't happen where the Las Plagas was split into 4. If anything, this right here actually really reminds me of, if we remember in Resident Evil 3 Remake. Resident Evil 3 Remake had the Hunters. I'm pretty sure that's what they were called, but they were like the Hunters with like the Y. I'm pretty sure that might be like Beta or something. I don't know those letters, but it's like a Y with like a cross. Those toad-like enemies, they would actually split up into 4. So it's interesting how they're kind of keeping similar kind of things, right? And we do know, of course, that in Resident Evil 5, right, that once the Las Plagas gets mixed with the progenitor, we actually do see that it does open up like a flower. But of course, this is not that. We do know that this is the OG RE4. Now, if we do remember in Resident Evil Damnation, that specific virus, or or technically it's a parasite, right? Because that virus for that movie was Las Plagas. So for that, there was a scene where we actually saw a ganado in that kind of take out something and place it into a civilian. But what was interesting and kind of confusing about that is that the movie specifically tells us that that's Las Plagas, but they're making it look as if it's like the progenitor Las Plagas from Resident Evil 5. So that always kind of confused me. I don't really get that. In that movie, it specifically said, no, this is Las Plagas. It's not the combination form of the progenitor and Las Plagas. But I wonder if now they're kind of retconning that and making it seem as if, opening up like that into 4 bits. So that's interesting. That's interesting right there. Yeah, let me know down in the comments, guys. I might be remembering this a little wrong, but I'm pretty sure it never opened up into 4 areas like that, right? I don't remember that. I do remember the tentacle, that being very clear, and of course the spider at the end. But this 4th, this kind of opening like that, it reminds me a lot of, like, as mentioned, the Resident Evil 3 remake. So, again, I might be wrong there, but yeah, if I am wrong, let me know down in the comments. So, yeah, that's the thing. Okay, so here's the next shot, actually. Okay, so this next shot actually kind of just answers my question. I do remember specifically in the OG that there was a thing like this that would grab Leon and was like an insta-death. But it wouldn't split into 4, right? That's what I'm getting at here. I don't remember it splitting up into 4. So that's very interesting. Again, if I'm wrong, let me know, but I don't think so. So yeah. Anyways, let's move on. Yeah. Okay, so here, next shot, we actually have the same kind of scene when Leon and Ashley finally enter the castle area and goes up. We can see right next, he's getting shot down with trebuchets, which is exactly like the OG RE4. We actually see like that little cannon here. Yeah, so I love how we're seeing the same area in the remake. That makes me really happy because, again, RE4 is such a classic. There's no need to cut anything out. There's room for improvement, but yeah. So I'm just really excited. Now, next images, because we still have a lot more to go. Yeah. So next image, we actually see Lewis here. Now, what's interesting about this section right here is that it almost looks like this is the mines. Now, in the next screenshot, as I just clicked by accident, we actually see that Lewis is actually alive with Leon fighting the 2 El Gigante fights. Now, this is very interesting because if we remember in Resident Evil, the OG RE4, Lewis dies before Leon gets to there. If we remember correctly, Lewis dies right before Leon actually gets back together with Ashley after Ashley ran off after she was being really dumb. She's like, leave me alone. And she goes and gets, she in that thing. And then, you have to go get her. Lewis dies in the OG RE4 in that room where you actually find Ashley. You have to shoot her locks out. And then later on, that's when you go into this area. You go down in the mines and you go through this area. So I really like how if anything, this just confirms to us that Lewis is going to have a bigger role in the remake, which is something that I actually really wanted to see because I thought Lewis was a great character. I want to know more about the character, and it's already been confirmed that through files throughout the game, you will be able to learn more about Salazar. So I'm hoping that that's the case for Lewis, Krauser, and even Sadler. I'm hoping that that's the same case for all of the enemies that you encounter in RE4 Remake. So really interesting. I love how Lewis is going to basically be an AI companion for this whole mine section, or this, because that's the section where you encounter these two El Gigantes. And by the way, the look of these two El Gigantes is amazing. Now, if we do remember in this, the OGRE4, the second El Gigante did kind of have a mask, but you can see here the art director did a fantastic job of making that almost like it's like broken pieces. I don't know if that's flesh of El Gigante, like it's been busted through, as if maybe he got knocked out by maybe the other El Gigante. But it just looks amazing. Like the design for this, it looks really freaky, really awesome. Yeah, so I'm really hyped for this fight. And you can see Lewis there. He's actually helping out, being like an AI companion. That's gonna be so cool to see. So it's not just you get to have Lewis in the villa, right? In the cabin fight, like in the OGR4. No, Lewis is gonna be having or helping us a lot more, right? He's gonna give us a helping hand. So that's awesome. Yeah, can't wait for this. This is amazing. We're just gonna, move past all of this because again, we already confirmed that this is that area with the lava room, I guess is what I would call it. But even though is it lava? Yeah, I think it is lava. It was always weird in OGR4 because you also have the other area where you can go to where there's also lava and there's like a bunch of like these dragon statues that spit off. It was weird, but. All right, next section, we actually have a look at one of the female Dr. Salvadors, or the Bella sisters, right? Those are the female version of Dr. Salvador. And if we can see closely, we can actually see that her chainsaw is red. Very interesting. Now, this room is very confusing because when I first looked at this, I was actually very confused. I was like, where is this? Is this the island? But having a look, now that you can actually see rocks here in the back and seeing the villagers, again, this wouldn't make sense that this is the island. So this is either the village, but you know what? I don't think so because again, we see those stone in the background. So I think this is still the mines. So it would make sense because this scene actually goes well with the previous shots that we just saw where Lewis is actually with Leon fighting the two El Gigantes. In the OGR4, that's where Leon goes to basically go through the mines section. So it would seem that they've expanded this area. They've given us an AI companion where he's fighting with us and basically helping us fight through the mine section of the castle. And the reason I also say that the other evidence to support this speculation on top of this is the fact that we see a villager right here. So we see a villager ganado. If we remember in the castle, once you reach this castle section, you don't really encounter the village ganados ever again. I'm pretty sure that's the last time. Until the only time you actually you reach them is once you reach the mine areas. That's where you see the villagers actually working, and you see them, right? You see them with their village clothes. You don't see the priests working in the mines. So yeah, so this would allude to the fact and help support the evidence that this is in fact the mine area. And obviously, if we move on later on in the trailer, we actually do see that Leon and Lewis are in the mines because we see them in the mine cart. They're going through the whole mine cart. So yeah, so this is awesome. I love how we're going to have Lewis helping us out a lot more. Yeah, you see all this stone here? It definitely looks like the excavation site for Las Plagas. I 100% think that this is not the village. This, in fact, is the mine area in the castle, so underneath the castle. So yeah, really exciting here. Next shot, we actually see Krauser. Now, yeah, this was very awesome to see Krauser again. It's been a while. And actually, when I first saw him here, I actually thought I was a little confused. If you saw my reaction, I was like, bro, Krauser looks weird. He does kind of look like his original, but he obviously does have more hair. Now, if we remember in the OG RE4, Krauser had really slick back hair. He had his beret on. But here, you can kind of see he's got a little more, volume here in his hair. So that kind of threw me off. Yeah, but yeah, very, very cool, very interesting. He does look a little bit different from his original look, from the OG RE4, but not by much. So he still has the same kind of scars. And so, yeah, you know what? I still like it. I'm still liking this new form. When I was, what was interesting was is that when I first saw him, I was like, especially this angle, because he does look a little bit different later on, is that I was like, dude, I don't know about this. I don't know if I like this new version of Krauser, because again, he's got a little more hair in the back. It looks more flowy rather than just slick back how it was, originally. So yeah, I did a poll in the stream, and a lot of people said no, they liked it. They liked it. So yeah, I mean, Krauser looks badass regardless. So now for the next shot, what's interesting here is that we actually know exactly where this is. This seems to be the same area. If we remember in the couple of screenshots that was revealed a couple of weeks ago, there was a screenshot specifically showing kind of the entrance to the castle, the area specifically, as I said in that video. It almost looks like that area where Leon and Ashley first encounter Lord Salazar. So this is that area, because if we look on the left, we see the candles, we see the ganados moving. But here, this shot right here, you see the carpet going up to that door. Yeah, we see this. This is the same shot, and I'll show you guys right here. It's the same exact shot from that big hallway of a room, and at the top we can actually see Lord Salazar. So what I'm assuming is what's happening here specifically is that this is right after Leon and Ashley meet Lord Salazar, and Lord Salazar has enough with the conversation. He probably ends the conversation and then, sends in a bunch of ganados to attack Ashley. But you know what? Looking at this a little closer now, we actually do know that Ashley is not in this room with Leon. So maybe, oh no, she is. She's right there. Okay, we can actually see. At first I was going to say, wait, I don't see her icon. But no, it was right there on top of the PlayStation there. She's kind of crouched. So yeah, this is what I'm assuming to be the case. Now, we can actually see here his guns. We can see he's got his new bolt thrower, which is kind of like the crossbow. We have a different gun here, a handgun. I don't know what the handgun is. I don't know if that's his SG, -09R, or if that's a different handgun. It could be the Blacktail or anything. I don't really know much about guns. Here on the rifle, this does look like the semi-auto, which in the OG RE4, we do know that once you reach the castle area, you can purchase the semi-automatic rifle, not the bolt-action rifle. So that kind of looks like that. I'm not going to lie, especially if we zoom in, we can kind of see, there's a magazine and there's a whole stock there. Yeah, it definitely looks like the semi-automatic. Flashbang grenade, different type of shot. Oh, that might be the same shotgun, just with upgrades. The W, I don't remember the exact name of it. It's the new shotgun that we see in the remakes. So I think it's a WS something. And here, interesting, we actually see the Magnum. Now, or what's known as the Elephant Killer. I'm pretty sure it's the Elephant Killer, right? Is that the name in Resident Evil 4? I think so. Yeah, because we have the Killer 7, but I don't remember if this was the Elephant Killer, or is that later on? Because I do know that it's later on, like in Resident Evil 5, you do have the Elephant Killer, and later on. But is that the name of it in RE4? I have to double check that. But yeah, very interesting here. The other thing also worth noting is that Leon does not have the armor here. So again, what does that mean? Does that mean that, this is obviously the introduction to the castle? Did the person providing the footage before, did he just do a second playthrough? Or are they going to give us the body armor earlier on in the remake? So anyways, let's continue. Yeah, we see Leon using his grenade, fighting. The other thing also to mention is that this ganado right here looks a lot like the merchant, which I think is really interesting because it just kind of confirms more and more that the merchant is part of the island, right? He is part of Los Iluminados. So him having, this mask, it looks identical to the merchant, which is, again, it confirms lore-wise that we do know for certain that the merchant is operating with Los Iluminados. Now, of course, in the OG R4, that was already, you can kind of ascertain that because, he does have red eyes. So, you can assume that, yeah, he's been infected. He is part of the whole group, but very interesting. I really like that small attention to detail of adding other ganados that are part of the priests to also have the masks. Right there, we also see that there's a spiked shield. Yeah, we also see Krauser's talking about, you can't save Ashley. And then, we see a shot of Leon saving Ashley right here. What I was going to say also is that this looks like it's the same shot just because it looks like a really long corridor. So this is definitely the intro of the castle, what I'm assuming to be. And here, especially with that fog here, we can kind of see that. I mean, it could be another section of the castle, but anyways, it does look like the castle just from the architecture right here on the back. And here we actually get a nice shot of Leon doing a suplex again with the typical ganado that has protection for this, right? Specifically for this. So usually if you do a suplex in the OGR4 with just regular ganados, their heads are going to pop. And the parasite may or may not release. But these guys that have the helmets, it does protect them from that. So yeah, it looks awesome, dude. I love that. And then the next shot, we actually see Ashley kind of hiding here. Now, what's interesting here is that this is the lanterns that she actually uses in the OGR4. This is the lantern where, she grabs to kind of defend herself and she kind of turns awkwardly like a robot and she kind of just throws. So this is that. But I love the fact that they've kind of reintroduced that by also making it an actual lantern. So, it's a lot darker. She needs to use it to go through. Now, what's interesting here, and one of my viewers, I'm pretty sure it was Demon, that also mentioned that, as she was walking here, we can kind of see behind that there are enemies passing by, and it looks to be like the knights, right? The armadura enemy types, which actually, if you guys don't know, armadura actually translates to armor. So yeah, the armor enemies. Yeah, a lot of the Spanish names, they do sound a lot cooler, right? But in reality, yeah, they're very basic. Yeah, yeah. A lot of the Spanish names for the enemy types, like arbor, like okay. Yeah, especially here, since we kind of see a Las Plagas and we can kind of see a shine of a metal. So again, I would assume, I'm pretty sure it was Demon that said that in the stream, that yeah, this is actually yeah, the armaduras, and Ashley is going through this section. So this is a section after Ashley gets kind of taken, or gets trapped, I guess would be a better way of saying it, and then Leon releases her, and that's when Leon reunites, and this is where Leon actually reunites with Ashley after Lewis gets killed. But again, this is obviously not going to be the same, since we do know that Lewis survives, and he's gonna take part in the castle area even a little later on. So yeah, his death isn't going to happen as in the same exact area. So yeah, very cool. Yeah, again, here we have a closer shot, so then we can look even closer, kind of just to confirm. Yeah, you can definitely tell that that's the armadura. Yeah, you can have the Las Plagas kind of going out of the armadura. So I remember there was one viewer that specifically said on one of my videos that it would be really cool if the armaduras, it wouldn't just if you need to shoot all the bits of their armor off to get to the Las Plagas, right? It would be very cool if that was the case, not just their face, how it was in the OG RE4, because they went down like a sack of potatoes, right? You would just shoot the helmet off, and then you could just throw a flash, and all of the armaduras would just blow up, right? And they just die, insta death. So yeah, I have to agree with that viewer. That would be really cool, and it does seem like that might be the case, where you might have to shoot the different pieces of armor to get to the Las Plagas, or maybe it's very interesting. But anyways, yeah, let's move on. Now this next shot right here, this is that room in the OG RE4 where it's actually really hard. I would actually say that this is the hardest room in all of RE4, like the OG RE4, mostly because these guys right here, these suckers right here, these ganados with these spikes, they come out, they throw that, you're dead. That's an instant death. And I love how in this kind of shot, we actually see that Leon can duck, so he doesn't have to get beheaded right there. So see how he kind of ducks or dodges. Yeah, he ducks to kind of just avoid, just in case. And of course, this is the same room, because we can actually tell right here that this right here is where Ashley starts doing the crank, and you have to cover her. You give her a piggyback up there to go and turn so that the bridge can come up, and then you can move up to the next area. So I'm really glad that they're not taking out anything. If anything, we're just seeing additions, or just different reworks of the areas that we know and love from the OG RE4. But yeah, this is truly amazing. I'm so hyped for this. All right, so yeah, that's the end of the room. Now let's go back. It seems like this is the castle area, or this could also, you know what? Judging by the back, this could actually be. Now, this is actually something that kind of confused me from the other trailers before. I actually thought, is this the castle? Because we do see a shot where Ada's kind of talking with Leon, and it kind of looked like that area from the other trailers. But looking now and knowing what I know now compared to before, this right here, this room where Leon and Ashley are talking, could actually be the Big Cheese's house. because obviously it looks really nice. You know, we see it looks a lot like Resident Evil 1. And if you guys remember in the Game Informer Chapter 5 footage that we got, we actually saw that, you know, the guy that was playing the footage that was provided by Capcom, that the guy that was playing through the game actually goes back to the Big Cheese's house, and you can actually find different stuff. So, and as mentioned in that video, the house looked very similar to RE1 house, you know, the mansion, the Spencer mansion. So yeah, I'm really excited, guys. This looks awesome. Yeah, it looks really high, you know, high class. Again, now it is worth mentioning, it could also just be the castle in a different area, but again, it is worth noting that this also could be the Big Cheese's house. So I'm just going to add that. I'm just going to throw that out there. see if it sticks. We'll see. We'll see soon enough, since the game is releasing. Now, if you guys are enjoying this content, feel free to subscribe and make sure to leave a like, because that actually really helps the channel. It is worth noting as well that I post Resident Evil videos every single week, and I also stream every Saturday. So make sure to stay tuned for that. Anyways, let's continue. Okay, so here we actually see Lewis grab what looks to be a spike or something. It doesn't look like a gun of any sort, but yeah, he grabs that. Yeah, it just looks like a stick, and he starts rehearsing a Don Quixote line right from the book. Now, what's interesting about this is that as he said that during the live stream, at the State of Play live stream, I actually searched it up, and I was like, okay, that's from Don Quixote, because and then after I checked my chat, a lot of the viewers were like, yeah, that's from Don Quixote. You don't know that? I'm like, nah, bro, I've never read it. I've seen part of the play, but not everything. So yeah, the only Don Quixote thing that I know is being in Japan and going to Don Quixote. So that's the only one. That's the only thing that I know about Don Quixote. So, but I thought that was funny how, you know, Lewis is making a joke and Leon's like all serious. He's like, yeah, no, give me that. So that was funny. It was interesting. This does look like it's still part of the mines. So yeah, they're gonna go save Ashley, and he does that kind of quote, or that kind of reference to the book Don Quixote. So yeah, very funny. Yeah. Anyways, moving on to, all right. So anyways, let's move on to the island section. I didn't know that we were gonna get so much information, you know, but yeah, finally Capcom has showed us so much, and you know, we can obviously tell that this is the island. That is Mike. Now, what was interesting about the trailer is that Mike actually sounds more country than from Boston. Like, that was really, like, that kind of took me back a little. But if we hear his accent, it does sound more country. Like, he does sound does sound like he's from the South, definitely. So yeah, I thought that was hilarious. But anyways, yeah, I love Mike. You know, rip F in the chats for Mike, because we all know that Mike unfortunately does die. But yeah, that's funny. So anyways, let's move on. Yeah, and it's also worth noting that at this point in the trailer, while I was reacting to it, or as I was talking about it in the live stream, where we were kind of just touching a little bit, you know, we kind of rewatched it a couple of times. We kind of dissected just a little bit. But what I mentioned is that as this scene plays out, we can actually hear that the music for this scene actually reminds me a lot of the main theme for Resident Evil 6. Now, you know, say what you will about Resident Evil 6, and this is what I stated in the live stream. Say what you will about RE6, but the main theme for RE6 is fire, bro. Like, it slaps. Like, it's amazing. All right. It doesn't matter if you guys didn't like RE6. You can't deny that the theme song for Resident Evil 6 is amazing. And this scene right here in the trailer, it sounded very similar to that, which leads me to believe, are they remaking 5, right? I stated this in the previous videos where I was dissecting the different videos and stuff, different images. And, you know, it's leading me to believe that they are remaking Resident Evil 5 and as well as Resident Evil 6, especially since, again, the sound director or the composer, you can tell he took some inspiration from Resident Evil 6. Now, it is worth noting as well that I do have a viewer that also stated that part of this music also sounded a lot like the boss fight for Krauser. I have not verified that, but if anything, yeah, I really like how, you know, and that's exactly what we saw. If you guys saw my news video where the composer actually spoke, the sound director and the composer spoke about RE4. Now, what the composer basically stated was that all the music in RE4 is original, but he did obviously take a lot of inspiration from the OG. And as mentioned, it sounds like he also took inspiration from RE6. So anyways, let's continue. We see Mike giving some help. You know, some assistance here. Yeah, this scene right here. This is exactly like OG RE4. Yeah, dude, this is This is sick. Yeah, that area on the left here, it does look like that's where the water tower breaks. Um, yeah, it kind of looks a little different. It almost reminds me a lot of like the beginning area of. Wait a second. I noticed there's some broken fence here. Is that from like the water tower? I'm gonna move my face. Maybe that's in the way. Oh no, it's just the fence. Okay, never mind, never mind. I think you know what? This actually this looks like a different section, but it does kind of remind me, especially this spot right here. It does kind of remind me of the first part of the island that you encounter with the ganados, with the island ganados. But what I was gonna say was is that yeah, next scene I think that's the scene where it looks exactly like yeah, right here. I think this is it. Let's zoom in. Yeah, we see Mike. Yeah, right here, and then you kind of go that. Yeah, so this is the same exact shot. Yeah, that right there, that little hut looks exactly like the other. I'm assuming that behind the helicopter, that's where you can kind of see the broken down fence. I'm assuming. Yeah, you can see. No, that's a little. No, that looks like a fence, right? Or is that part of the helicopter? I think that's part of the helicopter. But yeah, here you see that. I'm pretty sure that's where Leon was crouched, right? If we look behind in the previous image, I think that's where he was crouched. Yeah, right there. So I think, yeah, so that seems like that's the same shot of when Mike comes and he kind of pushes the water tower. I'm really interested to see if that's still going to be a thing because I always thought that was kind of weird. Like, why didn't Mike just shoot the water tower, like shoot the structure for it to fall on the canals? Why did he have to push, the water tower with the whole helicopter? That doesn't seem safe. I've never been on a helicopter, but that doesn't look right to me. So I wonder if they reworked that scene. Yeah, he shot some rockets there, so it does seem like they have reworked it. Very interesting. Now, the next shot, we actually see some footage of both Leon and Lewis being in the mine area, right? The mine cart area, which is actually one of my favorite areas also about the castle as well. I really like this section. I heard also some of my viewers weren't big fans of this, but I really liked it. And you can obviously tell that they've actually reworked this. If anything, this whole scene, because we're going to see a lot of shots of this. This whole scene actually reminds me of Resident Evil 6. Now, the fact that it's very gloomy, it's very dark, it reminds me of that part in Leon's campaign in RE6 where you actually go underneath the cathedral, right? That's what Leon says throughout the whole RE6. We have to get to the cathedral. We have to get to the cathedral. That right underneath in the catacombs with the minecart. So it does seem like, RE6 was obviously inspired by RE4's minecart section. And it seems like RE4 Remake is also taking inspiration from RE6 because, again, this area right here, the way that it looks, I think the only thing that doesn't look like RE6 is the lights. But, of course, this is RE4, so it's a different look. But I don't know. It's reminding me a lot of of RE6, and it's also worth noting too that one of my viewers also stated that in the live stream I actually missed this because my face was in the way, but we actually see right here in the corner, and thank you so much to the viewer that mentioned this, by the way, and yeah, we actually see that there's another minecart with Dr. Salvador. He's there. He's riding to his little minecart. I think that's so funny. So thank you so much to the viewer that actually stated that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait for this. As mentioned, this whole scene just reminds me of RE6. Next shot, we see a close-up of Lewis and Leon riding, and bruh, this is looking sick. This right here reminds me a lot of RE6, very action-packed. But of course, we do know that in the OG RE4, there was a section like this where the trail or the train tracks stop. And so as that happens, Leon has to jump and kind of climb. I wonder if that's going to happen because we do see the next shot. Literally, they're flying through the air. So I don't know. It kind of cuts there. That's where the footage ends. But I wonder if, they're either going to crash and then get out and all bruised, or if they're going to jump here. I'm really curious. But yeah, regardless, it looks awesome. Here we actually have a closer look at Sadler. Again, that kind of that infection behind him. I don't know if that's the door. I think that's the door. Or is that him? No, I think that's the door. But again, we see that parasitic kind of, it's also like attached to his ear. It's so gross. It looks decayed, and really, really amazing job there for the art director that made that. That's really great. Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the door. Yeah, we can see that that's the door. Okay, so obviously that's the same. And I'm pretty sure we actually saw footage of. Let me go back. Pretty sure we saw footage of this, of it being the same room as before, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go back a little. Let's just go see. There's so many images. Yeah, right here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Was it? Yeah, here. Is that the same door? Let's look. This is from the beginning, right? Yeah, that's the same room. That's the same exact room. Okay, that's what I wanted to confirm. So let's go back. All right, let's move on. Next room. Now, this is very interesting. When I saw this on the live stream, I was actually very confused because this was not part of the OG RE4. At first, I thought, was this the island or is this the castle? Because I honestly can't tell. It's very interesting. I have no idea. This whole mass right here, what it reminds me of is that scene where we actually find a bunch of the Novistadores. So right before you go and find Salazar, you fight Salazar and stuff, you actually see one of the Novistadores kind of kidnap Ashley. And if you look above, there's a whole nest of Novistadores. So this could be that section that's kind of reworked in the mines. Maybe there's a different section where, again, this is like the hive area for the Novistadores. That's my guess. I also thought it could also be the island section where you actually fight the U3. That could also be it because it's, looking at this kind of a thing, if we remember correctly, when you fight the U3, we see Leon actually jumps on a crane to go through. So this could also be the island, but I'm not sure, guys. I can't tell. But that light right there at the bottom kind of makes me want to believe that this is probably the castle. But again, those are just two viable theories as to what this section could be in reality. Anyways, let's move on. We're almost done, so let's move on. That's a clearer picture there. Yeah, much better. Okay, next, we actually see a closer shot of the Garrador, so the clawer. And we actually see here, his eyes are sewed, which is, the attention to detail is intense. Like, art director did a phenomenal job. If we keep looking here, yeah, we see right in front. So I'm assuming, is this like a cutscene where, Leon is just doing something and then all of a sudden the Garrador just shows up right in front of him or something, and then he puts the flashlight and notices, oh, he can't see me, but he can hear me. So, and is that, that's probably going to be the first introduction to the Garrador. Is, if you guys remember in the OG RE4, that's the scene where, Ashley and Leon kind of have to go downstairs at a basement area, which looks like a prisoner area. This looks exactly like that, but it's, of course, been reworked. Yeah, next shots, we actually see Leon actually shooting the Garrador. If we look behind him, because if we remember correctly, in the OG RE4, there was a pillar, and it seems like this thing on the right, is that a pillar? I'm going to move my face there. Yeah, I think that's a pillar there. So interesting. Yeah, very interesting. Anyways, let's go back. Okay, as mentioned, we are almost done. All right, next scene, we actually have Leon and what looks to be Ashley on a bed. Now, what leads me to believe that, okay, so this scene in particular, it leads me to believe that this is actually taking place on the island. So if you guys remember, there was that scene where Ashley is kind of put into like a little locker room or whatever on the island. I think, personally, especially looking at the architecture here, this definitely gives me island vibes, especially with this kind of monitoring, kind of access code that they're probably adding. This is probably the locked room where they're keeping Ashley on the island. But of course, in the OG RE4, that room was actually kind of like a storage section, but it did have a lock. Right? It did have a lock. This is, right after, you get Ashley, you run, and then you go down like the garbage disposal area. And, that's when you encounter the Iron Maidens with Ashley. So it seems like this is the new prison that they're keeping Ashley in after Leon gets to the island. So, yeah, again, this is reworked, but again, it fits. If anything, this scene right here, the architecture reminds me a lot of the island section as well when you're going through with Ashley, and you actually have to open and close the gates where there's a bunch of regenerators that show up. So, anyways, let's move on. Next shot, we actually see a close-up of the Krauser and Leon fight. Now, we do know, and it has been confirmed, as mentioned in the previous news video that I posted just, 3 days ago, that, the parry system came from this fight. They basically worked on this fight first, and then they basically said, we're going to add this kind of a parry system for this fight, and then they later decided, let's add it to the rest of the game. So really cool. I love the stance that Leon is taking here. His knife is ready, and yeah, he's ready to basically take in a huge punch or a huge hit from Krauser, because we do know that obviously from the OG RE4 that Krauser is infected, so he is powerful. He's a lot stronger than a normal human. And yeah, here now, what was interesting here, and this is something that I mentioned in the trailer reaction, I thought was really strange. If you caught that, we did talk about this more in depth in the live stream, but here, when Krauser he does like a double knife. And what I found kind of strange here is that Krauser actually shows his back. Now, one of my viewers actually did state that, oh, well, it's probably because he already, judged that if he was going to hit Leon would have to go back and it would kind of take him a second. So him kind of exposing his back is okay in that sense. But, you have to remember that, even in this trailer, Leon refers to Krauser as a Major Krauser. So this is somebody that has extensive martial arts experience, right? We do know that Krauser is really good with knives. So him exposing his back like that is kind of a rookie mistake. You don't want to do that, even if you're the strongest guy, and obviously he is stronger than a normal human because he is infected with Las Plagas. You would not expose your back like that, even to an opponent. That's just being way too overconfident. Of course, we do know that Krauser obviously is really confident, but that's too much. That's being overconfident there. Showing your back there twice, where, again, right here, we can see that parrying that he did. And again, he's really open, left really vulnerable here. Again, especially in a knife fight, you don't want to do that. You always want to be facing your opponent. Again, I don't know knifing techniques. I never did that, but I'm just talking logically here. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense for an opponent to do that. So I thought that was really strange. I caught that. You guys probably saw my reaction in my trailer reaction of this, and I was like, that's weird. That don't look right. And it's true. It doesn't. The more I look and break down this whole scene, that to me seems a little sloppy. I don't like that. I don't like that Krauser is leaving himself way too open there. Of course, he's not going to be a beast and always, be forward, but he's obviously a professional and knows what he's doing. So why is he acting all, like a rookie, doing rookie mistakes there? That doesn't seem right to me. So anyways, yeah, next up, we actually see that there's a button here that actually says evade, and we actually know that that's R3. Now, what's interesting here is that the person that's playing doesn't evade and just takes a huge, jumping roundhouse to the face. And it's so much so that the Leon is just, pushed back completely. And I really like that they're actually showing the power that Krauser has. Again, he's stronger than a normal human. So really dope to see that. Really beautiful. Can't wait to get my hands on RE4 Remake and play, this whole boss fight. Because as mentioned before in my previous videos, fighting Krauser is one of the best boss fights in RE4. Like it's one of the most epic boss fights, and yeah, and fighting him with a knife too. Like it's gonna be so awesome. Can't wait to do it in the remake. All right, next scene, we actually have Ashley. Now, this scene right here, it kind of reminds me of the initial scene at the beginning. So you remember how we actually went back there twice, where we actually saw Sadler with that scalp behind him and the door, right, the altar that has like the Las Plagas. It looks like that's that scene. And then again, it's a quick shot, a quick transition to Lewis with his Red 9 and what looks to be the castle. Again, we can't really tell too much as to where this is, but again, he's shooting something. So I wonder, is this where Lewis is going to die? Is this that section where he actually sees Lord Sadler and unfortunately, bites the dust? But yeah, or maybe that would be really cool if Lewis survives, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. That would be changing the story a little too much. And I don't really want that. But then again, Lewis is such an awesome character that I kind of feel bad because I know he's going to die. So from the OG RE4. So it's like, dude. But I love how they're adding more to him. Hopefully they add some kind of DLC or something. A lot of my viewers were saying he has to be in the Mercenaries. And it's true. Like, why was he not in the Mercenaries in the OG RE4? That was so weird. Anyways, here we go back to that Krauser fight with Leon. It seems like they've descended to a lower platform is what I can tell here because we don't see that central kind of air duct kind of mechanism in the middle. And we do know from the OG RE4 that there's two sections where they fight, right, in the cutscene. But of course, this is actually not a cutscene, and that is worth mentioning. This is actually you actually fighting Krauser with the knife fight. So in here, he's actually does, he pushes Leon, and he mentions something very interesting. He says, rookie. A lot of my viewers were thinking that was weird. Maybe a lot of my viewers were saying maybe it's because, Leon does refer to him as Major Krauser, not just Krauser, not as comrade. And he should be addressing Leon as comrade, but the fact that he says rookie is obviously it begs the question: is he saying rookie because obviously he knows Leon, he knows his past? Is he trying to be like cheeky by saying rookie just because he does know that Leon survived the Raccoon City incident as a rookie? So is that what he's saying? And that's the nickname for him, maybe, when they work together. Now the other thing also that's worth mentioning in this part, and this is exactly like the cutscene, if you remember, this is where Eda actually shoots Leon. You have to keep pressing X in the OG RE4. So it seems like that cutscene is going to be, it's not going to be a cutscene. It seems like it's just going to be us fighting Krauser. What's interesting here though is that, before I said that there was two platforms because we didn't see that center console or whatever, the center of the platform, all those things, but we actually do see that here. We see a bunch of barrels, but it doesn't look like it's the same shot from before. But regardless, again, this is that fight. And so it does seem like probably Ada's going to come and rescue Leon here by shooting the knife off. But we also had a look to his patch. Now, a lot of my viewers, they actually deciphered what this was with other pictures. I haven't found those pictures yet online. But yeah, those pictures, and they actually saw that there was a clear photo of this, and it actually says Death Glory. Now, what was interesting, and what I mentioned in the live stream, is that at first I was really interested in this emblem because I thought maybe it could have a connection to the HCF, if I'm not mistaken, which is the organization or the group that Wesker kind of forms in Code Veronica. So, it could be, because we do know that Wesker is obviously, it has hired Krauser and Eda to basically steal the Las Plagas parasite. So, yeah, so at first I thought, oh, does that have to do with that? But maybe, you know what? They're probably changing that. Maybe this is actually what the organization that Krauser was a part of, the Operation Javier storyline in Darkside Chronicles. It could be that, or maybe this is just a new group that he's been operating in since working with Wesker, but it's not directly involved with Wesker. We don't know. Again, I'm just basically ascertaining, but this is not from the OG RE4. We didn't have him working for a organization called the Death Glory. So I don't know what kind of squad that is. I don't know if that's just an emblem from him being a badass or doing something. I don't know. Maybe that's a nickname from him from when Leon and him were working together. But yeah, very interesting. And the SR, I think they were working. Yeah, I was gonna say SRT, but no, that's from the Degeneration movie. I don't remember what the OG group was that they worked together in. But anyways, let's move on. If you guys know, let me know down in the comments. But anyways, yeah. Yeah, that's that scene where the knife is going. Eda probably is going to shoot. Yeah, we have that X pressing here. It's so cool that this used to be a cutscene and now it's not. This is actually us playing the game, which I think is sick. Like it's sick. Moving on. Again, this is that same scene where actually, because behind him we can see the altar with the Las Plagas. This is that same scene when Leon is with Ashley. Yep. And then we have Eda here, and this looks like the castle. So I wonder if Ada is going to have a part here and kind of save Leon. If this is the same scene, I don't know, but it kind of looks like it. Again, we do know that this is like a ruin. There's some rocks before, and we do know in the trailer she says Leon. So maybe Sadler was actually going to kill or, make the... he was making the infection worse for Leon, and Eda has to step in to save Leon here. That would be interesting. That would be very, very similar to the OG. Not exactly the same, but yeah. So let's move on. And of course, here we do have a closer look at Eda. We haven't looked at her full outfit, but she's obviously wearing a turtleneck kind of outfit. It's kind of... I've mentioned this in live streams before. I do kind of miss the dress, and hopefully that's like an extra costume that you can, reapply, like the classic outfits, because that would be dope, because I really like the dress. But we'll see, we'll see a full look of this outfit, because we haven't had a full look of this outfit yet. But yeah, it would, and as some of my viewers have stated, it does make more sense from a tactical perspective of her not wearing a dress, because that doesn't really make much sense. You look, it's all style, but no no protection. So yeah. Yeah, it does seem like this is the same scene, because we do see that Leon is actually really struggling here. And again, same scene where Leon is trying to save Ashley. So I think Ada is going to step in and do something for him to escape, because he's obviously getting taken advantage of by the parasite, and Sadler being right there. Next shot, we actually see a look at the Novistadors, which, to be honest, is super hype. I can't wait to see how that's going to look, how that's going to play out in the remake. Oh, dude, I can't wait. The only thing that I was kind of like, oh, there was one thing I wanted to see, but of course I can't complain because we've seen so much today, is we didn't see anything regarding Wesker. But again, yeah, we'll see. The game's coming out in just a couple more weeks. All right, the Novista is getting closer. Yeah, so this scene right here where we see Leon and Ashley kind of running out with the veins of the infection. What's interesting about this also, and this is something I mentioned in the live stream, is that Leon in the OG RE4, he doesn't have an experience like this. The only time he does is after the Del Lago fight, and he actually kind of passes out and kind of has like a dream of Lord Sadler kind of injecting the Las Plagas into his veins, and he kind of has a dream where he's kind of freaking out and all of his veins, kind of start popping up, and the infection kind of takes him over, and then he wakes up from that dream and calls Hunnigan. So it's interesting that they're kind of taking that idea, but they're actually implementing it into real life. So we actually see Leon with all of his veins kind of showcasing there, and we actually see him with Ashley there as well. Now this was actually confirmed in the first trailer where Ashley's kind of holding a gun and looks like she's she can't control her body, and we do have the confirmation from that even before we saw Ashley kind of covering, kind of saying occultic things to Leon, almost as if she was kind of like possessed by the parasites. So very creepy. Yeah, again, this is probably that scene. Eder probably did something, probably did a distraction, maybe shot, Sadler down with her TMP, kind of just to give Leon and Ashley a chance to escape. So yeah, I think that's probably the case. Let me know down in the comments. Now, the next spot, I actually thought that this could actually be the chair at the end where they actually get operated on, right? Where they kind of disintegrate the Las Plagas in their body right before the final boss fight. It could be that. Or I also noticed some of my viewers during the live stream also said that this could just be the area where you fight the regenerators. So it could just be that same lab area. Now, if we look to the right, we can also see a computer, but my face is covering right now. I'm going to move it. Yeah, we can actually see a computer. I wanted to look a little closer to this to see if we can actually see anything on the computer, any files, but yeah, we can't really. Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. Anyways, move my face over there. I also want to look a little closer here. Yeah, it's hard to tell. I don't really see the same kind of mechanism that goes over. But then again, what's this on top? Is that like the lasers? That looks like the lasers. Yeah. I was just gonna say, if there was a mechanism where we can actually see the 3 lasers that kind of pinpoint the Las Plagas, and that, I think I just answered my own question there. Those are the lasers. There's 3 of them, just like the classic OG RE4. So I wouldn't say that this is the regenerator room. If anything, I would say that this is the disintegration, extraction of the Las Plagas room at the end of OG RE4. Now it is also worth mentioning that previously here, the one before, I was gonna say, is this Leon and Ashley rushing to the surgery table or whatever to get rid of it? But I don't know if this is the same thing. Again, I think this is probably the same scene before where Eder was there in the mines and stuff. And yeah, I don't think this is the same following shot. It could be, but I don't think so. Anyways, next shot, we actually have confirmation that the Mercenaries is happening, which is amazing. I wanted this to happen. I wanted the Mercenaries to be back, and it would make sense, right? There was nothing to suggest that we weren't going to get a Mercenaries, but I'm just super hyped. A lot of my viewers were like, we need to see Lewis as part of the Mercenaries. I also joked around it would be funny if we had Ashley. But yeah, and then finally, we actually got confirmation of the special demo is coming soon. Well, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to click this video if you guys want to see more Resident Evil 4 Remake news. Anyways, thank you so much for watching.